Welcome back. It is gardening season and we need to relocate a garden. Now the garden that I'm relocating is the same garden that we rebuilt last year. So you might be asking, why are you relocating the same garden that you rebuilt? Well, first and foremost, we want to grow more food, and if you've been following this channel, especially on the prepping side of this channel, you'll understand why. And second of all, because we wanted to expand it, the garden's current location was not in the best location to begin with. It was on the west side of the house, and so when the sun came up in the morning and into the early afternoon, the garden itself was blocked. And at the same time, if you look at the previous video from last year, you'll also notice that it was really close to the greenhouse. Being that it's being blocked by the house from the east side and then the greenhouse as well from the south side, we decided to move it all together and replace that location with another project that you will be seeing later this year. Now, why have we chosen the current location that we are at? Now, we are a little further north on the property. However, we are higher up on the property as well. And secondly, there is no blockage from the sun from the east side, from the west side, from the south side. And that's exactly what you're looking for. You want to maximize the amount of sunlight that your garden is getting. Now, behind me, what you've seen me dump here currently is the manure that we have been collecting over the winter. And what I did first was take all the manure that I had on the current garden and put it back here behind me in the same size of garden that we currently have. Now all this is manure except for the very little bit of top that is soil that I got to, and now the rest of the soil is going to be left there until I build this garden. And it's going to be a raised garden, the same as I did before. However, I'm using longer logs and I'm going to be doubling the size. Alright, I finally got the garden completed for the most part. I have to go through it still and pick out the larger stones that are in there, as well as the roots that I had to cut out from the previous location where the garden was. Now let's discuss the process of what I did here. After I moved all the manure over, I spread that out after I built the garden around it. So I have a bedding of goat manure, rabbit manure, and chicken manure that's been sitting all winter. After I spread that out, I took the the soil from the previous garden, brought it over here and laid it on top. And now we have about a 12-inch bedding for a garden. And like I said, I gotta just weed out the stones and some of the weeds and branches that I still have in there. And one thing that I had to do, or MacGyver with, is I had to prevent the soil from spilling out in certain spots of the garden bed, because I did not cut the logs perfectly where they rest on top of each other. Some spots they do sit on top of themselves perfectly, however on the sides they did not. And so what I had to do is, I was thinking about adding some wood from the inside just to prevent the soil from coming out, but at the same time I would like for the soil to be able to breathe a little bit. And what I did with that was I added some rocks from the inside of the garden bed and then packed it down with soil, so that way that as I add more soil or work in the garden, there is no spillage and I'm not losing any of the valuable soil that we need around here. So that's one thing. The other thing I have to do as well is put a fence in, bring the compost area here for the manure that we're gonna be cleaning out of the animals area, as well as the composter for the house scraps. Now, why did we move the garden here? Well, one, like I said, it's a way better location for our needs and as well as expansion. Two is that eventually we would like to expand the garden into two of these that are 16 by 20. And which I could do over to my right side, and then down the road, if we'd like to, we can also build around it, add a fireplace, and turn it into a greenhouse if we wish to do so. So that is one of the reasons, or a couple of the reasons, that we decided to move the garden. One, it gives us double the space that we had last year, and it gives us many possibilities for future plans. It's still going to be about 2 or 3 weeks before we start planting into here, so it'll give the soil some time to settle, let the chickens get into it, rummage around, eat the bugs, and let me get the fencing put up as well. Because for some of you that were watching, you were here last year when the garden had vegetables in there and the goats got into it because I was taking a afternoon nap and was not vigilant to see them. And it happens. So that'll be coming up in the part 2 of this garden series, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.